step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
All right, this is the Keep Hammering Collective with Andy Galpin, Dr. Andy Galpin. And check this out. Thanks for the gift.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. You earned it today. I'll say James earned his, and then I felt bad not giving you one, so I gave you one.
I'm used to riding on James's coattails, or as we like to call him, Gideon. You know, that's his middle name, Gideon. So,
great.
Anyway, he sets the tone for us. Thanks, Gideon. So we're, man, it's an honor to have you here. It's, I don't know, we've had so much fun talking about human performance. I mean, I feel like, you know, I've said this before, anytime I sit down with somebody after spending 2 days with them, I'm like, God, what the hell are we going to talk about? But man, I'm so fascinated, as are you, obviously, with human potential and performance. So I'm curious, how did that come to be for you? I mean, I know you were an athlete, you played college football. Were you like looking at things at that time?
Yeah, what I can say is, you know, when I was a kid, I grew up not too far from here.
Yeah.
You know, in Southwest Washington, and I played college pretty close to here, actually. Mm-hmm. But I was a country kid, and, you know, my dad was in construction, and my parents were really positive, and they really wanted the best for myself and my siblings, and they just said, you can do whatever you guys want, we'll support it, but you're not doing what we did.
Yeah. It's because it's a grind. They just don't want you
hard.
Going through it, yeah.
You have unpredictable income, hours, and things like that. And so I'm a country kid, I'm playing sports. I was fortunate enough, and my brother was good enough to play college football, but I wasn't really good. And that's important because if you're not good enough, it's like, hey, you can try really hard. You can do all the things right in your training and your nutrition and recovery, and it's not going to matter. You just don't have talent. Mm-hmm. If you're the other direction where you're so good, it still doesn't matter, right? Because no matter what you do, you're going to perform. I was in the middle. So I knew going into college, I was okay, but I wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. And I watched everyone else around me, and I thought, I quickly realized, if you want to play, and you want to play in a substantial amount of time, you have to outwork all these people. And that was the biggest adrenaline shot I could ever have, because I looked at all those kids and I thought, there's no one of you who can work like I can work. I will pass all these kids. Now I'd have to know what I'm doing. I have to do the right things, because training really hard in the wrong direction is, you know, obviously not effective. And so at that point, all I cared about was beating these kids. And so I'm like, I want to learn as much about training and nutrition and recovery as I can, because that gave me something to do academically. And I don't know, remember at that time, there was no exercise science field. There was no human performance college curriculum. It was kind of like public health and obesity prevention and, you know, walk more and stuff like that. And I didn't want to do any of those things. But I'm like, well, if I can learn about how muscles work and the body works, and then I can use that and try to get better at sports, I can beat these kids. And so that was really all I care about.
It's selfish.
Yeah. I just, for sure, wanted to smash those city kids. I just wanted to play.
The Flatlanders. That's what we used to call city kids.
Of course, yeah. Because, you know, where I'm from, and my brother and I were one of the first people ever to leave and play college football. So it was a big deal.
What size of town were you from?
It's called Rochester, Washington.
Okay. Yeah.
We probably had 80 kids in my graduating class.
Okay.
So not like super small.
Yeah.
Not Powers, Oregon, you know.
Yeah. Or 24 where I was. Mohawk.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are a little bigger.
Yeah, but still 80 is small.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal for me. It was a big deal for my brother. And I wanted to succeed. I obviously wanted to play too.
Yeah.
Wanted to get more. So it started there. And then finishing college, it was like, okay, now what?
Wait, but when you wanted to learn were you taking classes? Where were you learning this stuff?
So that's great. It's a combination of both things. I started lifting weights when I was probably like 13 or 14, right? Because it's the same thing. I was really fortunate in my parents, my community, my college kids I grew up with, my friends, their parents. I'm sure it's pretty similar down here where losing was totally fine, right? Like there's going to be people that are more talented than you in skill, especially bigger schools and the Seattle schools. And okay, great. Nobody ever really cared about that. But the mantra was always lazy was unacceptable. Losing, fine, but you're going to do all the things in your power. So most of the kids I grew up with were cleaning stalls before school. You were leaving football practice. You were definitely going to hustle, you were baling hay. Like you're doing something all day of just a mantra of if you want something, it's your fault.
Right.
It's your responsibility. 100%.
Yeah.
And so that's why like things like stealing were so looked down upon where I grew up because it's the antithesis of what I just said, right?
Of hard work, yeah.
It's everything that we stand for.
Yeah.
It's the shortcut,
Yeah,
right?
the opposite, yeah.
So from that point, I was like, okay, if you want to play, because my brother was older than me and bigger and really successful. So he's like, if you want to keep up with him and you want to play with his class, you have one option. And if you don't get that, it's only your fault. It doesn't matter you're smaller. It doesn't matter you're younger. My parents never let that be an excuse.
Right.
I know you know that,
Yeah.
like
No excuses.
with your kids, right? Like it doesn't matter you're the smaller one. Your brother and his friends are going to go play and they don't want to let you play because you're not good.
Right.
And I'm not going to tell them you have to play.
You got to earn it.
If you're not good, you don't get to play.
How much older was he?
He's just a year academically, but about a year and a half.
Okay.
But just naturally 10% bigger.
Right. Okay.
Right. So he's 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavy. Just,
Must be nice.
yeah, right? Yes and no. So that was a carrot. So when I was like 13, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start lifting. I don't know what I'm doing, right? I'm getting workouts from magazines. We're cutting them out and just doing them, right? That was really promoted. My high school football coach was really into same mantra, right? Just like we're going to train, we're going to work hard, we're going to play defense, we're going to do fundamentals. Like those things were really important to everything we do. And if we, like our mantra was always, if the other team doesn't score, they don't win. Which is, we did not really care about offense.
Right.
Like in anything. Because you can control, if you don't let them score, you score once and it's a win, right? So we were always driven to that side, which to us just meant, fine, you can always control your conditioning. You can always control how hard like you work, and you may not be able to throw it as far as they can and do all the skill-based things, have the coaching, have the play design, have the facilities, I mean, you name it. But we'll beat them with conditioning. We'll beat them with toughness. We'll beat them with fundamentals,
heart,
all that stuff.
Yeah, because defense can be a lot about heart too. It's if you
it's
want
effort.
it more, you know, offense they like getting cheered on and you know just being front runners. It seems like,
Of course,
you know, it's fun,
style or substance,
glamour.
right?
Yeah, but defense, it's gritty heart.
Yeah,
I
and like
it.
no matter how much fatigue you're feeling, when you have the ball, you find more energy.
Right.
But can you do the opposite?
Right.
Can you find the energy when all you're doing is not letting someone score? Like it's terrible.
Yeah, it's tough.
Nobody wants to do that. So that was just set up at that age to me. And so it just carried through high school and it carried into college.
And you just kind of were teaching yourself about lifting.
100%.
And then sounds your coach in high school, you guys probably had a lifting program.
Yeah, it was the same thing. It was probably, there was an old company called Bigger, Stronger, Faster. And they had magazines and they had pretty common training programs. They're actually still not terrible. So we had those programs that he would put up and he would just get them and the whole team would do them. So I learned a lot of the fundamentals from that stuff in terms of just training, not technique and program design, but just what it feels like, what it looks like, what it feels like to, in that case, squat on Monday and come back and vertical jump test on Wednesday and you jump higher. It's like, oh, okay, I see the feedback here. When I do that horrible thing on Monday, it was terrible, but I know on Wednesday I will be jumping higher.
Right.
And when you're 12 and 13, like you just keep getting better every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And you're going from, I'm 5'8", right? And with shorter wingspan than average.
Yeah.
And you're going from 13 years old and you could touch the net in a basketball hoop. And then
remember that.
14, you can touch the backboard, right?
Yeah.
And then you're dunking volleyballs and then you're dunking girls' balls. And you're like, wow. And just like every year there's
I'm still waiting for that part, but I'll take your word for it.
That part didn't get you?
No. But hey, it's not over yet.
No. We got a chance, right? You still get on top of that monument.
Yeah, yeah.
You got some bounce. But the carrot is there. And you're seeing, this is one of the things I love about training. There's a beautiful essay that Henry Rollins wrote years ago. Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I know his quotes.
It's the essay is so good because he just perfectly encapsulated what strength training is for many of us, especially early in life, where the feedback is so direct. You did it or you didn't. You got progress or you didn't.
I remember that 225 is always 225 or something like that on the bar. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's raining outside. It doesn't matter.
I love that attitude.
It's there, right? Like the Rock, man.
Yeah.
Like the Rock is going to get to the top of this mountain.
The Rock, I know.
And like, there's no talking I can do. There's no science I can do. You just have to get that thing up.
Yeah.
It's just going to go one way or the other, and it will land on that monument or
it won't. That's
it's binary. It's very binary.
It's the two options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pushing through those things just set up the infrastructure I needed to say, hey, I like human performance. And I really liked, obviously, I very much connect with people who have a similar, I don't want to call it a struggle, but a similar situation like I did. Under-resourced maybe, under-talented, under-supported, undersized. And once I started getting knowledge in this field, then I had a passion of going, man, I can help these people who are like me. What if they had better training and the other people who were more talented or had other resources didn't? And then these people can achieve their dreams. Whatever their dream is, to do their first pull-up, to win a gold medal. I actually don't even really care that much. To me, the passion when I was working with people has always come from somebody going, I want to do something. And when I initially started, it was with people this is before social media, and this is in sports. Because I'll back up. When I graduated college, I actually went down to Arizona, and I worked at a facility called Athletes Performance. This was the very first kind of all-in-one training center. And so you had your physical therapists and your dietitians and your chiropractors and your strength conditioning coaches in one facility. So we probably had 150 professional athletes in that. Hall of Famers, All-Stars, first-round draft picks. We had like probably 16 or 18 first-round draft picks in 1 year training there.
Wow.
Major League Baseball guys, right? So I'm coaching the best. I'm interning, but I'm still coaching the best really quickly. But along that path, I'm thinking, I don't really care about these people. I did it for 5 or 6 months and realized immediately I don't want to do this. I didn't have much interest. When I left there, I went back to get my master's degree.
How come you didn't? What do you mean you didn't care?
I didn't care because there was nothing grabbing my soul. They cared. Some of them worked really super hard. Some of them didn't. But
I was curious about this. Do you think, who has a higher ceiling? A grinder with less talent who's had to outwork everybody to get where that, or somebody who's born with the talent and just gets by on talent? I guess there's different levels to everything.
It's almost always the talent.
The talent always wins?
It's the talent.
That's not fair.
I get asked this a lot.
Then I have no hope.
People ask me that one commonly, like, what is the difference between, because I've dealt with probably 5 or 6 of the highest contracts in professional sports in America, right, across multiple sports. So the question comes up, like, what separates those guys and girls from the next round? And they're just better.
And well, it's probably like the perfect storm is all the talent and all the work.
That's how you get a LeBron. That's how you get a Kobe.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys that sustain, guys that do things, and you're like, wow, girls, and you're like, wow, that's how you get FloJos. That's how you get people. You're like, oh,
yeah,
those are world beaters that are going to have their names
lightning
on
in their
plaques.
bottle.
No question.
Yeah.
But most professional athletes, in terms of skill sports, golf, baseball, hockey, they're just better at their sport. Some of them are really good workers, really diligent. Others are not. They're just fundamentally better.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the other people have no shot. But those people are guys and girls that are like on the bubble. Okay, so they're on the bubble, but because they do all those things right, they have a 7 or 8 year career. They might be an all-star once or twice. That is where you're like, yo, you just changed your life, your family's life. Because if you wouldn't have done that, you wouldn't have got there.
Wouldn't even have made it.
You wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the bubble. So when I first left those people, that's the person I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with that bubble person. I wanted to work with the person who has one shot.
Right.
in one preseason to make an NFL roster. And they make it that year, they get to say the rest of their life they played in the NFL. Or they don't.
Right.
Right? That one person who's going to get to the Olympics one time, that one person to get one contract that changes the life and they can buy their family out of distress. And there's just so many things that go into this that literally change people's lives. It just resonated with me so much more. I'm like, that's the person. Like, that's the person I want to go help. Everyone's fighting to work with some, the famous so-and-so, and because they want,
They
they're
get
really not telling you.
10% of their contract.
It's not like that, but it's a lot of times it's like, oh, I'll work with that person, and then my name will get out, and then I'll get famous.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I don't think you know how this works.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't think you know how this works. But I resonated the opposite. So I started working with people that were going to sell their soul basically for a dream, and no one would know or care. That's what got me
Right.
initially. And for probably the first 7 to 8 years, that's pretty much all I did.
Who exemplified that? Who was your first that just was a grinder and made it?
I could tell you 50 names and you'd never have heard of them.
Really?
Because it's sports.
Yeah.
Maybe all they got to was a pro career in MMA. And they were 4-3.
Right.
But that was the most juice they would have ever gotten.
They made the show.
They made the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I trained with a handful of people in MMA in this little tiny gym. And we probably had 6 or 8 consistent guys that would show up to practice. And there was probably myself and one other guy who didn't make it to the UFC. I had this tiny little sort of town. None of them did very well.
Yeah.
But they got to,
Made it.
They got to the show.
Yeah.
To your point. I think probably one of my ones that I've talked about it a ton of times because it really does resonate. But when Helen won the gold in Rio.
And what's her last name?
Helen Maroulis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's the first American to win gold in wrestling.
I follow her.
She's just such a beast.
Yeah.
She's such a beast behind the scenes, which is what.
What you mean training or just her mental approach or what?
What her training, all that, her discipline, all that. Like to get to weight for the Rio Olympics that she had to make was a brutal process for a long time. To stay on point, stay on track, and to be able to sort of detach what do I need to get done and then emotion, right? To just bring those two things apart and just execute. But then her thought process in competition, out of competition. So a little story there with her going into Rio, the girl in her weight class, and the stats aren't perfect here, but it's going to be somewhat close. Internet can fact check here. But the girl she was going to have to beat, I think had won 3 or 4 consecutive gold medals. I think she'd won 12 or 13 straight world championships. I don't think she'd been scored on in 7 or 8 years.
Whoa.
So we knew just
a handful.
getting... It's kind of like if today I had to get to the top of the mountain and then I had to wrestle 3 bears.
Yeah.
Like...
Tough task.
Just get to the top as most people's
Right.
like, oh my God, I made it to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I made it to the finals. And now you have to wrestle
Yeah.
a girl who hasn't given up a point since you were a teenager.
Right.
Or since you were a preteen.
Right.
So then she gets into that match and immediately gets down 1-0. And me watching it was like, you know what? She got to...
It's a good run. Yeah, she did great.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And she got up after losing that point and nothing had changed on her face. And I was like, oh shit.
She still believed.
I don't think she believed. I don't think she ever even questioned in her mind she was going to lose. It wasn't a belief. It wasn't like, I don't think there was any self-talk in her
Right.
going, actually, I know there wasn't. There was no like, you can do this, you can do this. It was just like, it was almost like a fly hit her arm and she just, like it just didn't register. And she ends up scoring on the other girl and going on and winning. It's this huge upset. And I remember she had this incredible quote, I'll butcher it, but it's something to the effect of, she, in her mentality for that and the world championships the year after, she just had to realize, like, if I have enough, I have enough. And if I don't, I don't. Nothing else matters here. And so her ability to just let go of all of that, and she says it in different words and with certain context, but that to me, like, so her ability, her introspectiveness was very unique. Her ability to really understand what's going on in her own brain.
Yeah, freedom
really special.
to perform at her best.
freedom to perform. That's a great way to say it.
Without the worry of defeat or if this doesn't work or what are people going to think.
Yep.
It was just like that freedom just to,
Yeah. So her process was really good. And then her ability to be able to analyze afterwards, truthfully, like her feedback to us, was actually, here's what I'll say. Having coached a lot of female champions in a lot of sports, in general, oftentimes I prefer coaching females for that exact thing. Their feedback is unprecedented. So my ability to come back afterwards and ask very specific questions, I'm going to get really helpful answers, where typically guys, it's like, I felt good. Like,
they're more honest or genuine, the women are.
I think it's honest and genuine.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact that they're just more sensitive.
And not protecting an ego, probably. I don't know.
I don't think I've had necessarily a concern with that. Generally, the athletes I've been around are pretty good about being honest.
Yeah.
It's just they don't even register.
I see.
Right? It's sort of things like, hey, in this particular part of the competition, you did A, B, and C here. What was going through your head? And generally guys are like, I don't know, I'll punch him in the face. Like, you're like, but that's an honest answer.
Yeah.
Or the girls are more like, well, and then you're going to get a really analytical
I see.
answer. And I'm like, okay, great. Because I'm trying to tease out, was that a tactic issue? That's your tactics coach. Was that a skill thing? Was that a strength thing? Okay, that's my realm. Was that a conditioning thing? That's my realm. Maybe we didn't do our warm-up correctly. So I'm looking for a lot of clues to figure out, is this even my responsibility or is this a tactic thing? And so sometimes the guys generally, like if you ask a daily check-in of a male athlete, I don't care what sport you're in, like, how you feeling today, champ? Good. It's like you're not going to get anything.
Right,
When you ask a girl that, most of the time you're going to get a ton of detail. I feel pretty good. A little dehydrated, but it's not whining. It's just like are actually paying attention to their body.
Yeah.
Or guys are just like, I don't know, I just punched the thing. You're like, great.
I was curious when you're saying that, talking about tactics and so analytical and women thinking so much. Do you remember the fight that Rose had where they just couldn't get off? It was so tentative.
Rose and the wrestler, she's down by me. We share some similar coaches. Mike Safai is one of her coaches. Carla Esparza.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yes.
It was just like nothing and I just was wondering if they were both overthinking everything so much or what did...
It's a handful of things. When those things go down, sometimes it's just a fluke. It's just a...
style matchup type thing.
Sometimes it's style, but sometimes it's more of you just happen to catch both people who are on the wrong wavelength, right? So it's hard to sort of explain because typically in those fights, you're going a lot on instinct and you're going a lot on rhythm. And when it feels like just both records are scratching,
right?
Like you're just like,
yeah, they're both out of sync.
You're both out of sync. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah.
And so neither one of them scared.
Right.
You're not scared in there, but you're just sort of like, you can't catch.
No, because it's like fighting. A lot of the best fighters to me seem very fluid, very, they got their combinations they like, but they got to be in rhythm for all this.
Yeah. Another really good example of this, if you go back and watch when Damian Maia fought Anderson Silva.
Okay, yeah.
Really bad fight. Same thing, like very inactive. Anderson got a lot of criticism. Dana was really upset about it, all that stuff.
Damian doesn't like to strike. I mean, he's like, wants to get on your back, basically.
Yeah.
Choke you out.
If you hear Anderson, and Anders actually, he's quite different too, but he said in that fight in his round, because they're kind of asking, like, basically his corner was like, what's going on? And he's just like, I can't find my range. He just couldn't find that's his way of saying, like, I can't find my rhythm. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
He just felt way out of sync. And it's not for lack of effort. Obviously, neither one of those dudes are scared of any contact.
They're a pro's pro.
It just wasn't smooth. It wasn't rhythm. They couldn't, they're unable to perform on instinct. And just things were clashing. And it just happens. I mean, this happens to our pro golfers. Like, how are you a best golfer in the world and you miss a 1 foot putt? Like, it just happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
I saw somebody missed one just the other day. Who was that? Like a 3 foot putt.
Oh, what happened was the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Which is the third major of the year. And it came down to Sunday, and it was Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy.
Right, Rory, yeah.
And, Rory missed a 2 or 3 foot putt on 16. And then Bryson missed one. on 16 or 17. And then Rory missed one on 18. And so Bryson won.
Oh my God.
And so Rory missed 3-ish putts or so in the last 3 holes of a major. And if you don't know who that is, why that is kind of interesting is Rory was this sensational teenager. I think he won his first major at like 20 years old. Won 3 or 4 majors by the time he was 21 or 22, but hasn't won one in 15 years.
He's going to be the future, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any large part he is.
Yeah.
Right. He's probably the most famous guy on PGA Tour still.
Yeah.
And so this was a long time in the making to finally win a major again. And he
Shit the bed. Oh, that's rough.
It's hard, man. Sports
Yeah.
are hard.
That's rough. You know, when I think of like being in rhythm, when I think of fighting, you know who looked to me, it seemed like the highest level of fighting. And I think he even lost this fight, but Charles Oliveira in his last fight, I can't remember who it was now. Do you remember who he just fought?
Did he fight? Well, he fought Islam and lost, and then he fought Arman.
Oh my! That was such high level. It seemed like it's so violent, but so incredible on just like. I mean, even I think one time he did something wrong. I can't remember what he did. I don't know if it was hit in the back of the head or something, but just realized immediately and said sorry.
Yeah.
They both acknowledge each other, get right back to like this the highest level of fighting I remember seeing.
He was in so many spots there where if Arman wasn't perfect that day, he was losing.
Yeah,
It was very impressive.
I
on
was
both
shocked
sides.
at how good they both were.
Yeah, very talented, both of them.
Yeah, and that just seemed like we're talking about people who were out of sync or out of rhythm. They seemed like both at the highest level.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch.
You want to know the worst part about coaching boxers and fighters is you can do everything right for so long, everything, and then sometimes you just have that happen, and you're just like what?
Yeah.
And then you're scratching, like you kill yourself inside on my side of the equation because you're like, there's so many variables running through. Like, what if it was this? Maybe we timed something wrong. Maybe something was got of here, and it could be that.
Because he had like a Darce choke. Do you remember that?
Yeah, at the very end of one of the was it the third round?
Or was it the third round maybe? And it looked like he was flattened out. It looked like, is this it? Is he out? So
He
close.
thought he was.
So close. Yeah,
You got to be so tough to win a world championship in the UFC.
Yeah, amazing.
You have to be so tough.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You have to have so much skill, and you have to be able to perform, to keep your cool, make decisions, have all the talent, and you just have to be brutally mentally tough. It's just there's just no other way to get through that.
One of the most common questions I get is, how do I start hunting? My answer, gohunt.com. I actually really wish there was something like GoHunt available to me when I was younger. It would have saved me a lot of time hunting areas that game was scarce. GoHunt is just like Zillow, but for hunting. You can see every hunting opportunity in the West and easily sort by game you're looking to chase, along with draw odds, over-the-counter opportunities, harvest stats, and even trophy size you can expect. Even if you've been hunting your whole life, the information you can get from GoHunt is way beyond what you'll find anywhere else. It's the best way to go on more hunts every season. They've also got public and private land maps and an online gear shop filled with field-tested hunting gear, not just the basic stuff you can buy at a big box store. If you find it in their shop, that means they've tested it on hunts and can guarantee it's good. If you haven't checked out Go Hunt, see for yourself how easy they make it to plan a hunt. You can use code CAM, that's C-A-M, when you sign up, and you'll get $50 to spend in their gear shop plus 10% off most items in their store. I put my body through a lot. I've found that Ketone IQ has helped give me an edge when I'm running. I actually won my latest ultra and made sure I had some ketones to take throughout the race. I'm already drinking so much caffeine in a day. I really like that ketones provide a clean energy with no sugar or added caffeine. Ketones provide a ton of benefits to the body, the biggest being cognitive function. So I even down a shot before I podcast, and I feel like it helps me think more clearly. I'm all for anything that makes me smarter because the guests I have on here are top performers in their field, and I need all the help I can get. Ketone IQ is giving listeners of this podcast a great deal. They're offering you 30% off your first subscription order of Ketone IQ at ketone.com/cam. how'd you get involved with the UFC and training fighters?
So when I finished with the NFL guys and I got to Memphis, so I'm working on a master's degree in human movement sciences. It was okay, but this is kind of actually your question earlier. So academically, I'm taking anatomy and physiology classes and biomechanics and motor control. So I'm learning basics of how the body works. It's not particularly applied to sport performance because it just wasn't really offered, but it was easy for me to make that crossover and connection. If it does A, B, and C, what happens sort of here? So then I'm working on a master's, and MMA is starting to kind of come up. And I remember actually we had, I think it was a Strike Force card, but it was Gina's first big fight. I think Gina fought Julie Kedzie on that card. And we walked into the MMA gym, and all we just hear is like, thum, thum, thum. And I'm like, oh, what is going on? And the MMA gym was like below a karate studio or something. So we go downstairs, and it's just boom, boom. And I'm like, well, there must be a pro fighter here or something like that. And I go down, and I just see this dark-haired Italian girl just crushing Thai pads.
Hot as hell.
So hot.
That's what I remember.
My buddy Doug and I were like, what is this?
Yeah.
We come around the corner, and Forrest Griffin's there, Randy's there, and we're like, oh, there's a big, like the fight card is here, was in Mississippi, right by Memphis there that year. And so a bunch of the fighters were on the card and stuff. And this was a pretty good card. I think Frank Shamrock and Henzo, I think that was the main event. So we're doing that. So I got to be there live in person for Gina's first fight, and she was one of the prelim fights, and she blew the fucking stadium apart.
I bet.
It exploded.
Nice.
And this is no Instagram. There's none of these things. So it was just like, who is this girl? And she was ferocious. So that was incredible. So that same year, my friend Mike Bledsoe and Doug Larson opened up CrossFit Memphis. Because they're like, we want to open up a gym, and CrossFit was getting pretty big. And so, of course, like the first clients in that gym were the local fighters. And Doug fought himself. And so it was pretty easy. It was kind of an exchange. They're like, hey, if we can come lift, you guys can come train, that sort of thing. So we started training kind of local fighters, and then we started training at the gym and stuff like that. And so that was initially when we just started getting going with amateur fighters. And then they stayed there. I moved on to Indiana to work on my PhD, found my little fight gym, and was training and competing with those guys. And then those guys started competing. And as I mentioned, a bunch of them got on to the old Dream promotion in Japan.
Yeah.
Got on the Ultimate Fighter. So we're like getting these people ready to go. And time to time, real UFC guys would come into town. Right. So they'd come in, stop by the gym or whatever. So I'm just sort of getting acquainted with those people, helping them out on basic physiology, nutrition, and weight cut and
because it was kind of coming from almost like a tough man competition. Like
most definitely,
it wasn't. There wasn't much. I don't know.
It was very little science.
Yeah,
there was no help.
Just being tough.
Be tough.
Being a brawler.
Go after it. Right.
If you could wrestle a little bit, that was Matt Hughes. That was cool. But as far as like where it's at now, so much different now.
So much.
But it was just like evolving at that time.
And it hit the exact marks I was talking about earlier. It wasn't important yet. Even the best fighters didn't have any money. Only the top of the top, and they still didn't have that much money. So I was like, hey man, you guys want to fight and you want to do this cool stuff. Nobody cares about you. None of the best trainers in the world want to help you. No one's reaching out to you on Facebook and being like, can I help? But I was like, this is the cool. The other thing about it was when I started doing it myself, I very quickly realized and interacted with these people. I'm like, oh, everything in my textbooks doesn't make sense with these people. None of our physiology lined up. So now I had a really interesting academic problem to solve. Like, how is this going to work? How are you going to compete with all these physiological parameters, right? How are you going to train this many times? I'll never forget, we were doing a study in the lab, and as a part of it, you had to kind of fill in like your training schedule and your exercise schedule so they could document it. And we filled it out, and the scientist running it came back and was like, wait, what? Like, did you guys fill it out right? We're like, yeah. It's like you have 12 training sessions a week. They're used to seeing that per month or whatever, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no way, you couldn't do that. And I'm like, I see what's happening here. There's nothing here. There's no science here. There's no physics, and everything in the textbooks is not lining up. So I'm like, man, this is really interesting. A bunch of people who are doing some things that are going to be really hard and no one cares about and no one wants to help them. And now we can also break the mold and learn something new about how the body works and performs. And of course, loving it myself. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to go after these people. So I did that. And then when I got to LA and opened up my lab, it wasn't long until the actual high level pros, being in LA and being in Vegas, sort of found out what my lab was doing. And then from there, the fighters came. And then, you know how this kind of game works in 2011. There weren't many people. And so once word got out, it was like, yo. And so the flocks started coming.
So they would come to you?
Yeah.
Because how are they hearing about what you're doing?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
It was always word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because there weren't that many gyms. There weren't that many people. Like one day we had, so I can't remember the exact story, but I had a girl in my class whose dad was a wrestling coach or something like this. And somebody knew somebody who knew, I think, Mark Munoz. And so Mark said, hey, can I come up and do some of the testing? I'm like, sure. And then he showed up with Jake Ellenberger, Jason Miller, and like a couple of other guys that were pretty good. So I actually got pretty close with Jake. So I helped Jake for a number of years when he was like kind of on his crush. And then from there, because they were in Orange County, all the people that were training with Mark, and then
so it's just basically spread. They're like, hey, here's this guy. I think he can help you, or maybe he can help me. Or
yeah. So actually, I'll tell you, this is a fun part of it. Actually, this is an important story for people to know. So those guys came up and they wanted, I think, to just do a VO2 max test. And I was like, okay, no problem. It takes us 30 minutes or something, right? So they get all their data, and then I went back and I analyzed all their data, and then I went and pulled every single paper that's ever been published on wrestlers, kickboxers, taekwondo, fighters, everything. I wrote them like a 95-page report. Here's your data. Here's your comparators. Here's if you're good, bad, great. Here's the science on what to do about it for this component. Here's the training program. Here's like I put it all. They asked me just to do the test. I think they paid like $100.
And you provided all this.
And I spent forever putting this report together, right? So I sent it to them. Like, here's the recommendations. Here's what these things mean. You're not going to know what these numbers mean. This is what this is indicating. Did
you have a goal? Were you trying to
no
drum up business, or did you just cared?
I have
it was just a passion.
I have a full-time job.
Okay.
Right. I'm a tenure track faculty member.
Yeah. So it's just passion.
I just was like, man, I think this would really help. And I also knew if I send these guys their data, they're not going to know what any of it means.
Right.
They don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to help.
Yep.
So I just thought, like, if this was one of my fighters, what would I want to see? What would actually help them? I just wanted to help them. Just like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just get deep into holes. And that one I just went off the deep end.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, it's this, but then they should know this. And like, I just got there. So I sent that report, and I almost immediately got a phone call in my office from a guy named Ryan Parsons. So Ryan is one of the original guys. I don't know if this is true, but I think Ryan named Team Quest. I think it was his idea to name it. He still manages Chill. He does all of Chill's stuff to this day.
Okay. So
Ryan went to Arizona State with Randy and Dan Henderson, I think. So he comes back from that this Portland group, fighters up here and all that stuff. So he was managing these guys this time. So he calls me. He's like, dude, who are you? What is this? Like, this is...
Yeah.
And then he just started bringing like every one of his guys, hey, can you help Chill? Can you help like everybody? And just start doing all those things. I'm like, yeah. And then he and I formed a pretty good relationship. And so from there, once that was opened, then we, started taking off. Because once you get into agents and management, then they want all their guys to
for sure.
send it over. So that's kind of how it got started in 2011, I think.
And you've just well, it sounds like you've loved the fighting sports or combat sports forever. Even you like to train yourself, but then now now you're helping Brian Ortega, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what other fighters?
So I've been with Brian for, 5 or more years now. Brian and Tatiana Suarez get the bulk of my attention from the fightings. And they had a similar thing. So Brian came to me after the Max Holloway fight. So undefeated, obviously got
lit up. Max never looked better, I don't think. As far as striking that day, that was crazy.
Got him pretty good.
But Brian's so tough. I cannot believe how tough that guy is. Almost to his own detriment.
However tough you think he is, it's more.
Really?
Because the things that you don't see behind the curtain.
I wonder where that comes from.
Oh, I know where it comes from with him. But there's just things I can't. Like,
Oh, dang it.
well, here's what I'll say, man. Like, there's nothing fake about him. And man, I talk about somebody who's been through real life. Not I lost a fight, not like the other side. He grew up in a real tough place.
Okay.
And so he's been through the things where, I mean,
It makes or breaks you.
well, or like, most of the people you grew up with aren't around anymore.
I see.
So
Yeah.
like real trauma, and well, I'll let Brian say more things if he ever chooses to, but he's actually talking about doing his own show. And I'm like, dude, if you tell the world a quarter of your life stories,
Yeah.
like it's insane what he's been through.
Yeah.
Even since I've known him.
I just like his I don't know, just his presence, and like he just seems so genuine. So I mean, you want to root for him.
Yeah.
When you hear him talk and you see him, you're just like, how do you not love this guy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he came after the Max thing, and his training prior to that reminded me of yours, but worse.
Stupid. Yeah.
He would, man.
Not well thought
I'm
out.
sorry. These are Brian's stories to tell. I generally don't like telling fighters or
Yeah.
athlete stories, but I'll tell a few of these just because it's fun. I wasn't there for the Max fight, but Henner and Brian have told me these, and Mike have told me these a bunch, where he didn't warm up for that fight. He sat in the back. They said, Ortega, you're up. He got up, put his mouthpiece in, and walked out.
Jeez. Interesting
Right?
routine.
He's eating like Jack in the Box the week of the fight, or some fast
Yeah.
food the week of the fight, right? Just doing these horrific weight cuts. And he didn't do, I don't think he did a single wrestling class in his life until after that fight. He would put his gloves on, hit the heavy bag, and do jiu-jitsu.
He's really good at jiu-jitsu.
He got to like 12-0, like got to world championship level.
Wow.
But when he lost that fight, that's when he came back and realized, I'm good enough to get here. And he's good enough to win a world championship. But getting from almost a world championship to a world championship, you can't just make shit up. You can't wake up, figure out what you're going to do for a workout and do it. You might be able to.
He was this close to getting it against Volk.
Dude,
Can you believe that?
I can't talk about that. Like, I was, 7 feet away or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was standing next to, I think, Gilbert Burns. And when he got, because he was on my side of the cage when he got the first guillotine. And like Gilbert grabbed me. He didn't know him. He's just like, how you grab people.
Yeah,
Like,
just
He
excited.
just grabbed, and he's like, this is it. Like, no way. And I was like,
Because he had a body triangle. Didn't he have the body lock in?
he's just mounted
Oh,
guillotine.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
Which is actually not actually the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
So he got out of that, but then when he got the triangle on, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, we're
Yeah.
done here. Like,
Right.
we're done here. But
You'd think.
that's what I mean. How fucking tough is Volkanovski?
And I think must be strong, tough, everything.
All of it.
Because it took everything for him to escape that.
An inch, right? An inch, a quarter of an inch, a centimeter, right?
Centimeter.
This is what I mean. Like, people don't understand how tough, when you get to that level, to win a world championship, and then to do something like what Volkanovski's done and win 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever it is, it's just levels on levels on levels of tough. There's no way. Alex has insane techniques and skills and talents and IQ and all the things, and you add one more. Like, he's clearly, but like, Alex is, even though again I've coached against him now, when that motherfucker went to Brazil, I don't know if you remember, but he came up in the UFC. It was 15, 16-0 or something, and they gave him Aldo in Brazil.
It's a tough matchup.
When nobody knows who you are, right? And they're trying to set Aldo back up to go back for a world title.
Yeah.
And he put it on. It wasn't close. Like he totally froze Aldo. Aldo couldn't get a strike off in Brazil, right? And that's when I was like, dude, this guy, it doesn't matter the talent. This guy has something very special upstairs. And then being able to just watch his whole career with Islam, everybody. That guy,
I remember seeing
next
him,
level, man.
I think it must have been around the time you're talking about with Aldo, but I think he fought Chad Mendez.
Same thing.
And I thought
Dropped him.
I thought Chad, like, oh, okay, Chad's gonna win this.
I thought Chad was going to torch him.
Yeah, and then Volkanovski was like, his punches were so fucking hard, and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This guy's light, and Mendez is good.
Very good.
Really good.
Well, Mendes, it's the same thing with like the Helen story. So if I remember correctly, Mendes dropped him immediately. Big favorite. Way more talented, I thought, right?
Yeah.
Comes out and puts him down immediately. I'm like, all right, this is a quick night. This is like what we expected. So that guy's ability to go, you're an underdog, nobody knows you, all the nerves, you got floored, and it like just doesn't matter to him, right? He just
Crazy.
Now you look back on it, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
Okay,
But at that time, I was just like, I thought, oh, maybe just Chad had a bad night, or this guy is like really good.
He's a monster.
Because I didn't know about him at that time.
He's like, I mean, I hope Brian gets a shot again there. But yeah, how do you not respect that?
I know. So in Brian's fighting, he's coming up.
Yes. So we got about 9 days or something like that. So we got a 12 days notice for this fight.
And who's he fighting?
He's fighting Diego Lopez.
Oh, that's right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an up and comer that seems pretty hot right now.
Like I think I told you, but my podcast came out, the very first episode, and I was literally just open champagne to celebrate. And I got the text from him. He's just like, we have to talk right now. And I called him right back. And I'm like, all right, Connor's out and you're stepping in, huh? And he's like, yep. I'm like, fuck. God, really? We have to do this? He's like, yeah. I knew. And he's like, what do you think? Because he's pretty good about, he asks everybody on that team, what do you think from your side? What do you think from the skill side? What do you think from the weight side? What do you think? And anyways, he's very good about those things. And he's like, here's the weight. Here's how much time. Can we make this? And I'm like, dude. He's done worse. I think it was the Frankie Edgar fight. Yeah, it was the Frankie Edgar fight that he did I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but it is some absurd weight cut in a short amount of time. But that was many years ago. And so I'm like, dude, I have to go look. I thought about it and I'm like, we can get there, I think, but it's just going to be a terrible 12 days.
Right.
And there was zero fucks on his concern. Like he did not care at all about the part. And I don't
think
have to
people
say
realize how hard that is.
So bad.
Yeah.
The weight cut you typically go through is bad. And you want to go into those things with a lot of energy and feeling good. But now we have to limp into this thing. But he just like, there's words that will come out of your mouth. And then you can tell when those are not words. There's just nothing in there that registered as, it doesn't matter. Like we're taking this because this is the things we're going to, it's like, this does not matter. I'm like, oh my God. So on my side, I haven't slept in 9 days, right? Because I'm just like, every night I wake up in terror. I'm like, wow, I gotta... But he's just like, it just doesn't matter. We're going to get there. It's just, I mean, the terrible analogy is it's that mountain on a smaller scale, man. Because it's like, we're going to get to the, we will see a 146 on this scale and we're going to fight well. No other options exist. We're not going to get 146 and then talk about how tired we were, because like that's not an option. We're going to make 146 and then we're going to fight well.
The numbers wise, I mean, if you broke it down, there has to be a performance. If you cut right and then, or you make this big cut like this, there has to be a difference in performance. There has to be a measurable, like, there's no way you can perform as well.
So there's actually a lot of data on this. It seems to be okay.
Really?
Not this kind of a standard 15% body weight cut done well over 6 to 10 weeks, and then your final 5% or so, like final real cut.
Yeah.
There's been actually a lot of studies in different realms, and it seems to be okay. Performance seems to be pretty reasonable if you reload properly, rehydrate, refuel.
So you make the weight, and then
it's okay. Especially now that they changed. Remember how they used to do it? The weigh-ins used to be Friday night.
Like at night, yeah. Now
Now it's Friday morning. So we bought another for our main. We basically only do main event type of people.
Yeah.
So that bought us 12 more hours.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and that has helped. So muscle glycogen wise, you can pretty much get back there.
And how, when you say reloads, like tell me how do you guys do that the best?
You have a handful of things to pay attention to. You have to get fluid back in. The primary thing is fluid because that's the primary thing you're cutting. And it's the primary thing that's going to be of danger. And so the hardest thing is rehydrating the brain. It takes a very long time, probably more like 48 hours to get fully back there, but you can get close in 36 hours. So we have to get that in. Now, from a performance perspective, we have to rehydrate, we have to resalt, and we have to recarbohydrate, right? Because muscle glycogen is the primary fuel source for MMA type of excursions. So we know we'll underperform if we're there. Okay, great. So those two things have to happen. At the same time, we have to do that in a way that does not cause significant GI distress, right? As you know, like carbs are great, but if you throw 300 grams of carbohydrates on a stomach that hasn't eaten in a long time and cut a bunch of weight, like this is going to cause significant. And sometimes this is, people even think like the kidneys are hurting, and it's just it's basically GI distress like you're having there. So it's all kinds of things. So you have to make sure you're not giving them diarrhea. If you undersalt, then you're not going to hydrate properly. If you oversalt, you're going to get diarrhea. You're going to throw up. And so we have to play a game of, we have to smash a bunch of stuff into you in a very specific time. We have to smash in minimum carbohydrates, a handful of electrolytes, and then tons of fluid.
And is it on a schedule?
It's very scheduled for us.
Like every hour or something?
No. So it is everything from the second you walk off the scale. We have a very specific, so we test the shit out of them. Everything is going to get tested. We're going to test urine, saliva, stool, hair samples, and in this particular case, sweat. So I know exactly what they lost in sweat, down to the milligram, right? We know exactly what's happened there. And so I need to bring all that stuff right back in. But as I said, if you put too much salt in, that salt gets pulled into your GI system. That pulls water into your GI system, and that's what causes the diarrhea. Also causes cramps and stomach pain. And so what you're trying to do is say, okay, as soon as you step off the scale, we need to get in carbohydrates at around a 5% concentration. And then depending on how much sweat they lost, you're going to put in a different amount of salt, rather, that they lost, a different amount of salt in that first drink. First drink is typically a liter or so, 2.2 pounds, right? So kilogram. Now we know we can get there, and we're going to drink that, try to go somewhat slow, but you're going to drink it pretty fast because you're pretty darn thirsty.
Thirsty, yeah.
Right? And so at this point, we've gotten a couple of pounds of water in. So we're on a good start. We've gotten a decent amount of salt in and some carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are there in that case, not necessarily to start building back muscle glycogen.
Are they in the drink, the carbs?
In the drink.
Okay.
But you're trying to use that to shuttle fluid into tissue. So when carbohydrates come in that situation, they're going to get put right into muscle tissue, and they'll bring fluid with them. You have to, it's called osmotic pressure. You have to make sure that the concentration that you're drinking is the same concentration as your blood. If you're overly dilute, like if you were to chug water, then what happens is the amount of, you sweat out salt and a ton of fluid. And so your blood is very viscous with low salt. If you put a bunch of water in there, it gets really dilute, and it's a big volume, but it's hyper dilute. Your body will register that as you being overly volumed, and then it'll excrete. So you start peeing out water. So you don't want to do that, because now you're already severely dehydrated and you're exacerbating the problem.
Yeah.
If you over concentrate, it gets hypertonic is what it's called. It'll pull water out of the tissue and put it into blood. It's the exit. So you need to put in the very specific concentration of elements. Electrolytes and carbohydrates need to be factored into your equation to understand, is that an isotonic solution or hypotonic solution?
How many fighters do you think are doing it to this level?
The ones in the UFC, if they're working with the Performance Institute, those guys and girls are taking care of it.
Okay.
They have done a phenomenal job.
Gotcha.
Prior to the UFC PI, people are chugging Pedialytes.
Yeah.
Nuts, right?
Just no rhyme or reason, probably. Just like, I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink this.
Old wrestling ideas. And It's like, oh, I wrestled in Nebraska in 1992. It's like, I don't give two shits what you did
Yeah.
at the Olympic Training Center in 2003.
Yeah, because this sounds fascinating.
20 years of science.
Yeah.
That's past that now. So we'll have that. And then everything is very timed down to the minute for the first hour. Very specific and timed. The food intake and the drinks. And the drinks that we're giving, depending on the size of the athlete, are generally again about a liter in size, sometimes even down to like 20 ounces. And they're timed and they're very specific with what they have. And so depending on their physiology, how much they've lost, how much we've had to cut water, how much we've had to cut carbohydrates, we're going to play different things. So there's different supplements we'll put in there into those combination of drinks in a very specific amount in a specific order, so we can kind of minimize GI distress while start bringing things back in there. Once we get past that 1 hour window, now we're playing the 1 to 3 hour game. And so now we have a different protocol that happens there. Now we start bringing in food, different food elements, and all that. So
what type of food do you choose?
initially you want high fluid, low fiber, low fat, easy to digest foods, right? So you're nibbling on watermelon, grapes, things like that at a very slow pace.
Okay. Not too much fiber in watermelon?
But you're not going to get that much
Okay, gotcha.
in there, right? So watermelon's going to be 95+% water.
Yeah, okay.
And there you want really high glycemic index foods. Sometimes like white bread and jelly, like for some
Sounds
fighters.
good. I have that right now.
Yeah, no kidding. After that mountain. It depends on what they've been eating. You try not to give them, I personally try not to give them foods they haven't been eating, because now you're just like asking for disaster.
Right.
But you're generally trying to get nibbling on things like that. We don't need protein at this point at all. It's like we'll do some to settle the stomach a little bit. I actually think that's one of the big helps that you can do. But we'll do typically a protein powder in one of their drinks, right? To just like keep things moving a little bit, get the GI woken up a little bit. And protein tends to settle the stomach when you're putting in. So they'll often put in somewhere between 8 to 1,200 grams of carbohydrates in, right? So you're going to put a lot of carbohydrates in.
In how long of time?
In an 8 hour span.
Okay. Whoa. That's a lot.
So if you don't have any protein, it's not going to feel great.
Right. Yeah.
But you don't need the protein other than
Just
making
to
this process easier.
Calm the stomach. Yeah.
So we'll do that. Once we get after so one of the marks I actually use is once they pee the first time, now we can kind of switch. Right. So if they pee within the first couple of hours, you've done something wrong. You shouldn't be, right? So if you're down 6 to 15 pounds, and if we pee anytime before that,
yeah, because you haven't made up that weight yet.
not even close.
Yeah.
Right. It's not always that way, but it's pretty close, right? So if it's been like my friend, I won't say names, but a heavyweight, you would know, like very famous one, woke up like the next day and they're like waiting to fight. And his coach he's like, oh shit, I haven't peed yet today. It's like 6 o'clock at night, whatever. And they're like, oh shit.
It's not
Because he's a
good.
heavyweight that had to cut,
Yeah.
like a very ferocious, physical, big heavyweight. If you catch my drift there. And he's like, he hadn't peed yet all day. They're like, oh shit. So that's a problem too.
Yeah.
But once you get that system going, you can kind of start getting back into a normal. You still want to eat really high quality foods, but we're not pushing a ton of vegetable down. We're not eating fatty foods. We're not going for tons of desserts or anything like that. We're still wanting to eat chicken and rice and just kind of nibbling on things like that. Maybe some pasta if they're used to eating pasta. It's a great way. And then getting the fluid back. And once they wake up the next day, I mean, before that, but we should be feeling pretty much normal the next day.
So it sounds like with Brian, I mean, yeah, the cut's going to be rough, but as long as you come back out of it correctly,
He'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's really good about that. Before we started doing stuff, he was throwing up and having all kinds of stuff after weigh-ins, right? Always having it, but we haven't had that issue. We've been able to dial that stuff in pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and he'll get through it. It's not like that big issue. And we've dealt with worse. I'll put it this way. So he his last fight rolls his ankle in the cage.
Yeah. Yeah. Just bouncing around.
We have to fight in Mexico City.
Yeah.
7,500 feet. Brian lives below sea level.
Yeah, that's tough.
We did well on that. Like we crushed that part. And I'm like, okay, he's been hurt a lot. He's had a bunch of shoulder surgeries. He's been this and that, and he lost the fight. Now he's coming back. And I'm like, God damn, he's going to lose this fight because he rolled his ankle. And then he gets hit and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. I was like convulsing. My stomach was convulsing.
He took a couple good shots before. Yeah.
But then he, once he got the, I think it was the first takedown at the end of the first round, I was talking to Mike, his strength conditioning coach, and I was like, yo, I think we got him here.
Yeah.
Like, I think this guy's done. And then the start of the second round, Brian, I like took him out immediately. I was like, oh, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Like, this is a wrap.
Yeah.
I know what this dude's feeling right now because he doesn't have the science to prep for the altitude like we did. And and then Brian took over and Brian did his Brian thing. So
choked him out, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modified like arm triangle, rear naked choke sort of thing that he does.
God, I've always been a fan of his, and it's like he's had fights that didn't go his way, that so heartbreaking. The Volk, the Max wasn't really close, but it just was tough to watch when you're a fan of him. So
Totally.
I love seeing him get that win.
He's one of the funnest guys to watch train. And I've seen a bunch of his old jiu-jitsu competition videos and things like that. He just does stuff in training. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll give you another story. Sorry, Brian. So I was there when he fought Cub Swanson. So you remember when he guillotined Cub, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you remember how he got that finish, he did this like jumping guillotine off the fence sort of thing, right? So he has... he gets kind of close. He jumps the guillotine, puts his feet on the fence, and then hangs kind of backwards, switches grip, and does it, right? Henner showed him that in the warm-up room right before the fight.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Henner showed it to him, and supposedly Brian was like, no, it's not going to work. And Henner's like, no, that'll work. And then he goes out and does it.
That's awesome.
Like, that is Ryan Ortega. He just does stuff against really good people in the training room. I was like, what is that? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He just does it.
Love that attitude, though. Yeah. Oh, man. I can't wait for this fight because, Diego looked really good in his last fight. Yeah. I think he lit somebody up, knocked him out probably.
Yeah, UFC 300. Well,
yeah.
So. But Brian, doesn't. Yeah. I told you yesterday, the amount of things he's tried to do, step-in fights, short notice fights, against opponents, you're like, what? He does not have a button on there that is like, yeah, you should be afraid.
Is he just loves challenge?
Yes.
And it's not a money thing, probably.
Well, I mean, that's always motivation. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it helps, but it's just probably just something inside him like, hey, I can do that.
I think the easiest way to say it on his behalf is when you've generally been through what he's been through, these things are not scary.
Right. Yeah. Been through hard times before.
Yeah.
A fight.
What am I going to do? What?
It's one night.
It's one night. It's one thing. And he has when you grow up in chaos is not scary. So it's just I'm going there and smash these people. And he has a ton of belief. And everybody has a lack of confidence here and there and stuff. But he, and he's done it so many times. He's pulled off so many of these haymakers. And that's also what he lives for, right? He's like, why else am I doing this if we're not going to see who's really about it or not?
That's awesome. Who walks the walk?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about something because you talked about your trainer. It's an ex-Laker trainer, right?
Yeah. Tim DiFrancesco. Yeah.
Right. And you talked about explain to me the difference between carrying a rock up a mountain and what that could do compared to the specific type training that you're doing with movements with him. Yeah. Is one better? Are both good? Well,
both are good. So a little bit of context there. I hire and have a coach, right? Even though this is my field, my area, I always think it's very important that you're not in charge of your own.
How come? Just because you don't make good decisions?
You never make good decisions.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
I get that.
You always push too hard on the day that it's supposed to be recovery, when you feel a little bit better. And then you don't do the other thing. And it's very hard to step back and look at big picture, right? And so doing the workout tomorrow, doing the workout the week after that is easy. But how do you look back and go, what's this month going to look like relative to the last month? And the month after that? What's this year going to look like relative to next year? Am I doing the right things? to set myself up for the next 80 years of training. Right. I want to be lifting weights until I'm well into 100. Right? I want to be playing golf. I want to be doing all these things my whole life. Am I making stupid decisions in my 30s? They're going to cut that off when I'm 65. So that's the point I got to when I stepped back and actually, Peter, it was, I don't know if
Atia?
Yeah. I don't know if it was a conversation we had, something, but he said something about, he did something like this. He's like, I stepped back for a year, fixed his deadlift, and then his low back pain went away or something like that. But he's like, it took me a year to reset. And I was like, whew. All right. At the time, I'm like, I'm 30. I'm in my 30s and things hurt. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You have the resources. You have the not like you have the people. Like, what if you took a year and tried to move better? What's that going to feel like when you're 50? You're not going to forget the year of maybe losing a little bit of muscle mass,
Right.
not being as fit, but you will remember the year you took to unwind yourself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It is a long-term investment that sucks in the moment. It's delayed gratification. I hate it. The training is not particularly fun.
Yeah.
I've lost muscle for the most part. My fitness is lower. My conditioning's lower. Like I'm dying getting up this mountain, right? It was rough. But to me, it was an easy choice. And so I hired Tim. He's a physical therapist by trade, but also a strength coach. So he was with the Lakers. And I was like, all right, dude, you have whatever it's going to take cost-wise, and you have however long this is going to take. Whatever the answer is going to be, we have to get healthier. Joints got to get better.
So the goal, just make me healthier or more for longevity?
I don't care about longevity at all.
Okay.
At this point, because I know the answer there.
Okay.
What I cared about now is I cannot be in joint pain. No joints can hurt. Like that's the thing, right? I can't have posture that's starting to get worse. So I can't have a shoulder that's kind of nagging me. I can't have that elbow thing, because what's going to happen is the worst thing you can do for longevity by 1 trillion miles is to stop exercising. The first thing that gets people to stop exercising is things hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I can't. And there's a little bit of like hurt that goes along with push, but there is also the my back hurts every day.
Yeah.
Can't. Like, okay, great. So I just had a bunch of these things accumulating, and my goal is, okay, stop. So I said, whatever's going to take, however long it's going to take, you tell me. If I have to do 20 minutes every day of stupid Pilates, like whatever it's going to take, right? So that was it's been about a year, I think, and change. And we have slowly started making progress in a number of these areas. Like my shoulders have zero pain after 20 years of issues. Elbows like feel good. A couple of areas where I've seen improvements, but aren't all the way there yet. And so the difference is in that programming, it is hyper-specific to my physiology, not my physiology, but my anthropometrics and my movement patterns and my pain, right? So it is a combination of, I can't even describe the exercises, because it's things like, put your right foot in this position, hold this angle, rotate your left shoulder over here, and then doing a modified step up or something like that. And you're like, what the fuck? You have to like think through the whole thing. But every part of your body is very intentional. It's just like the shooting thing, where like something's going on. And it's not about how hard you're pulling the string, or it is going, can you actually just be learning a movement pattern? So success is not a weight. It is not a time. It is not a score. It is, did we execute exactly how Tim wanted me to execute that thing, right? The workouts take longer. You don't necessarily feel very smoked at the end. And so oftentimes I feel like I didn't do shit, because I'm like, But then I'm like, sometimes I wake up and be like, oh yeah, okay, like this particular muscle on my side of my core is a little tight today. Okay, great. Like that's the thing he was trying to get after or something. So we contrast that to the mountain today, and it's the same. It's a Venn diagram. The overlap is still, we're trying to make a complex system move intentionally, right? So when I'm working with my training program, everything from my toes to my head is being accounted for. Everything is intentional. There's no limitations there. When you're getting up there, there's nothing from your toes to your head that's not screaming at you to stop. Like everything is happening there, right? I'm having pain signals and quit signals top to bottom.
Yeah.
The last 15%, it felt like almost a 1 rep max every step, right? You're just getting through a step by step, and everything is going after you. Where it differs, though, is the outcome. The outcome of this, getting that rock up there, was whatever it's going to take. I'm still trying to move well. I was being very conscious of my foot position just to be more efficient. But I'm getting that rock to the top of that. And if I have to shift, if I have to go high, if I have to go low, it doesn't matter. I feel like the training that I've done with Tim has made something like today way easier. Because now I can get through today and I'm not compensating in really bad positions. And I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and my back's going to be thrown out.
Right.
I'm going to be sore because I did a bunch of stuff at an intensity I'm not used to. But like I was telling you, even halfway up the mountain, I realized I'm like, oh, I'm going to be good here because everything hurts the right way in the right spots.
Right.
Because clearly my bracing strategies in my pelvis are better now.
Right.
I'm not bracing through extension. I'm not bracing through bad positions. I'm not getting, I'm not using my shoulders in bad positions, so my neck's not going to hurt. All these things. So I felt like I could actually go as hard as I wanted today, which I definitely did. And I'm not going to wake up the next day, not in pain. It's not the soreness. It is the, I got to go to the chiropractor, throw my neck out.
Yeah.
I actually don't, I feel like very good right now that I'm going to wake up very sore everywhere and be totally fine.
But not hurt.
Not hurt at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the investment, and it sucks.
Yeah. I have a hard time with that. I always like, to me, yeah, I can't do the maintenance. It's like, I always feel like, oh, I just got to get miles in. Miles, more miles.
Yeah.
And if you did this many miles, you should have done more.
Yep.
So it's like, I'm like, I'm the worst. I need to have your mindset on, I don't know, just being smarter about fucking training.
Well, so here, it's not a smart thing. The way that we always approach this, when we do training programs for athletes and all of our non-athletes, right? We coach far more regular people, entrepreneurs, executives, than we coach athletes.
Right.
We do the same thing. If you don't know what you're training for, you have no shot. Okay. In your particular case, you don't know what you're training for. Now, it doesn't sound correct in your mind, but the reality is, have we stepped back and go, what does this month look like, Cam? What's this 6 month look like? What's this year look like? What's your 5-year training plan? And what we do is we end up effectively, we use a quadrant system. So in the quadrant, you got 4 spaces, right? You get 10 points total for the quadrant. Okay. Not 10 per, 10 points total. And we say, okay, let's have a discussion. Where are the chips going? How many are we going to spend? And then we outline that quadrant and we check into that quadrant daily or weekly. And we make sure that your actions are following the quadrant. Right? And that becomes really challenging. We do this in a couple of different ways, but in the broader example, quadrant 1 is your physical activity and your training. Quadrant 2 is your business and whatever we call these things, your life, your job, something like that.
Don't
Quadrant
care
3,
about that.
right? Quadrant 3 is family and friends, social connections, whatever those things mean to you.
Don't care about that.
Number 4 is recovery.
Don't care about that. So
Okay, great. 10-0-0-0. Here's the rule, though. You can never have more than a 2-to-1 relationship between recovery and training.
Okay.
Right? So
2-to-1, which way?
training. So you can train twice as much as you recover.
Okay, gotcha. Good. So wait, are you counting recovery as sleep?
Everything is recovery. Whatever recovery means to you, whether that's going to a physical therapist, whether that's your ice, whether that is
massage,
whether you need to meditate, whether you need to go shoot a bow, whether you got to hunt, whatever it is that gives you energy back. That's what I'm after, right? So exercise is going to take energy away. What gives you energy back? For some people, that's going to a party. Some people, that's going out and interacting with people. For people like me, it's like getting away from people. I have to be by myself. Interacting with humans is really draining.
Yeah.
I have to be away, right? Whatever it is for your recovery, whatever it is for your physical activity practice, whatever it is for your business, right? And then whatever it is for your family and relationships part, right? Now, we got that quadrant figured out. Within that quadrant now, we'll do another one just on your training. Okay.
Is it same 4?
Same 4.
Okay.
But we're going to change the categories.
Yep.
You still got 10 points though, right? So now we're going to look at today's training, right? We're going to look at, do we have a performance goal? We're going to look at what's 10 years from now look like. And then we're going to look at limitations. Okay, so I'm going to look at that and go, how much of your training is dedicated to today, tomorrow? and how much of that is dedicated to our 10-year plan. And now all of a sudden when we look at that and we go, well, okay, nothing on my 10-year plan. I have no idea. Okay, my recovery is 0. And then like, okay, great. So we're just making up workouts.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, right? So I want to sit back and go, okay, we don't have to have like a competition picked out. But if all we're doing is running, we're not maybe doing enough efficiency work. Maybe we're not doing enough strength training. Maybe we're not doing other components that need to get you to that goal. This is exactly how we build fight camps, by the way. So we go into the same thing. Like, how are we going to lose this fight? How are we going to win this fight?
Okay.
And now we determine what amount of time we're going to spend on wrestling and striking and all these different things based upon those 10 points.
Is that
That's exactly how we design it.
Is the risk on the loss, is that based on the opponent? Okay.
Very specific, right? So the style of training we do, how many points we allocate in each category, it differs based on are you fighting a wrestler? Are you fighting short notice? Are you fighting a striker? What's your game plan? You're going to strike, you're going to wrestle more, we're going to clinch more. Okay, great. We're going to need to have a higher fight IQ. Okay, we need to do something different then. Is this going to be a tactical fight? Is this going to be we're going to go to hell here and see who stays alive? We're going to build all of training camp around those questions.
Okay.
So it would be the same thing with you, right? It would be like, okay, what are we trying to do here? And how are we allocating our energy, right? Just throwing miles at things is miles, but there is a much more intentional way we can go about it so that you can have higher reward for least amount of consequences or risk. Like there's going to be consequences with your mileage, period, right? Like we saw some of those, like there's going to be some, fine, we're okay with that. But we just need to understand what we're giving up. As long as we have that recognition, then we have expectations that are managed. Right. So we would change all of our, not necessarily change things, but we would make sure that we are being intentional with how every calorie you're burning is going. And so we can put more of it in the area we want and less of it in areas that we don't care about.
Yeah. For me, it's like, we talk a lot about running for sure. And I do races, but to me, that's not even, I don't even give a fuck about that. To me, it's about, I need to be able to kill a big bull with an arrow. Right. And so in my head, I've always been like, the more I can sacrifice in training, overcome all these things. Because a hunt, it's about overcoming. It's about problem solving. It's about being at your best when everything is going against you. And then the animal, it's like you have to make these good decisions in crunch time, block out everything else and just focus on picking a spot and that arrow hitting perfect. So to me, my training is like, just break myself down and still be able to rise up.
Okay. So here's what I'd say.
Okay.
At breakfast, we were talking, like I put those on spectrums of sensitivity versus resilient. You've maximized resilient, right? You need to be able to perform under any circumstances, situations, and that is phenomenal. I think way more people should spend way more time trying to be more resilient. That is by far where we need to go. At the same point, it's also a mechanism you have against having to pay attention, right? It is a strategy you take to go, look, I don't want to have to pay attention, and I'm going to blind that under the veil of, I just want to be able to perform no matter what. Like that's exactly the mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But at this point,
like pay attention to what?
How many miles are you doing? What are you doing today?
Oh,
why?
Yeah.
Why are we training that way?
Yeah, I don't.
What are we doing?
Right.
What are we eating before?
Yeah.
What are we
I understand. Okay.
Okay, right? I don't want to do those things. So for you, it's easier to block that out and use it actually as a tactic to go, oh no, I'm just working on being harder. Great. At this point, do you question your mental toughness anymore?
No.
No. I already know that answer. I don't need you to go prove it anymore, right? This is the same for a fighter. I don't need you to spar 5 rounds at 100% attention in practice every week. I know you can fight. I know Tatiana. I know Brian. I know when things go down, what's going to happen. And you know that answer, right? So I don't need to see that in training.
Okay.
What I need to see now is the opposite. How do we get more out of this thing? How do we play some games with specificity and precision? I don't want you to live there. I don't want you to be precious, but I got to know what that looks like because right now it's blind. And so we don't have to prove the point over here of wondering whether or not when shit hits the fan, can you perform? Because you've clearly found that out about yourself for 35 or 4, whatever years, right? We know that answer. I know that right now, if something happened on the top of that mountain and you had a broken foot, you would get down. Like, I don't have to question that. I literally know that.
Yeah.
Like, literally, right? Great. So now it's time to answer the other questions we haven't answered, which are, what does it look like if we have some intention? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it does. And so now, rather than saying, okay, can I do a race under terrible conditions? Yeah, I know you will. But now can we do it better? Can we go faster? Can we set a new speed record? Can we set a new production rather than just got through it under terrible circumstances? I still want you to spend most of your time over here.
Yeah.
Like most of it. I just want to see what that looks like over there.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's the same thing with our fighters, right? We want to say, or on any of our players, our golfers, our baseball players, our basketball, NFL guys, I want you to be able to pitch when you have a fever. And you have to throw 100, and you have to have command, and you have to be like, because you're getting paid a lot of money and blah, 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 like all the things, right? It does not matter. I know you're hurt. I know the things there, but we have to go play. We have to find that. Some people, you have to find that. Some people don't know it's there. It's not there. You have to develop that. You have to drill that. You have to build that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I want to go the other side. I want to know how to get you in the great spot as many times as possible, because the biggest thing with professional sports is those competitions are set. I know I can look at the schedule right now, and I know exactly when my pitchers are pitching the rest of the year. I know the day they're competing in the Olympics. I know that day right now.
Right.
They have to perform on that day.
Yeah.
There is no moving it. There is no option. There's no second chances. And so for us, I want no questions. I want no wondering. I want no guessing. Everything we've built in our coaching program has been that. Like, what if we took every question away that we possibly can? Can we give you the most consistent, repeatable results? So when you're a pitcher and you have to throw every 5 days, there will be some bad days. There'll be some good days. But how do we minimize the standard deviation? That is the difference between a guy making $5 million and $35 million a year. It is that standard deviation. It's not the great day. It's not the terrible day. It's the standard deviation.
Right.
And so we have to get consistency. We have to have a known outcome for a known input. I want to know when I go A, B, and C, this is going to happen in your physiology. And this is going to happen in your performance. We can also use that a lot in contract negotiations. This is like behind the scenes sort of stuff. When we have this kind of data, it's super valuable in contract negotiations, because they can make arguments of going, well, you're 33 now, and hockey players or basketball players start doing that. And we can go, well, look at our historical data. We have 7 years of data on cognitive function, blood markers, blah, blah, blah. In fact, everything's getting better. Now argue with me.
Pay me.
Tell me I'm going to start slowing down. Right?
Yeah, right.
If you don't have that, you start getting the back end. So it's actually very valuable for us to have a very large historical database of your physical performance in just rather than your stats on your sport, right? So we want to do those things, and we can negotiate. Well, not we, but the agents and stuff can negotiate a lot better.
So do you think that, like, the fact that, so you're talking about athletics and competition against other men or women, and I'm talking about hunting against an animal, still performance is performance.
Yeah, man.
Right? So it doesn't really matter that I'm not trying to beat another man. I'm trying to kill a bull.
Same difference,
It's
right?
still, but you still want to be at your best regardless of the competition.
So when you go up and you got that draw and you got 7 days to kill that thing, you put 23 years of preference points on, right? Like you got some of those draws in there, right?
Yeah.
You have one shot, and we have to minimize. There's no perfect. Anything can happen on a mountain.
Yep.
With a wild animal. We just want to minimize the controllables.
Right.
So Michael Phelps said this the best. I didn't hear him say this, but he said this to one of the golfers I coached, John Rahm. He said, look, your job as an athlete is to be 100% on the things you can control. And by specifically, he gave the example of a basketball player. A free throw is always going to be a free throw in basketball. No one will ever get in the way. The same basketball, same environment, same 15 feet. If you are not insanely good at free throws in basketball, you are just letting points off the table. Right. You can't call the plays. You can't call the defenses. Maybe you can control that. So whatever it is in your sport or arena that you have perfect control over, you have to start by maximizing that. In your particular case, this is effectively what you've done. You're going to shoot every single day. at least you will know you have the ability to put that arrow where you want to put it. Now, there'll be other factors, blah, 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 but that part's controlled. You're going to make sure you're not going to miss an opportunity because your legs are tired, right? You're going to do those two things. Okay, great. I just want to make sure that that is as consistent as possible. So when that 7-day window opens up and you get out there, you're not feeling a little bit run down because your training was non-specific. We're not feeling a little bit low. We didn't develop some micronutrient insufficiency in the last 5 months, like something else where it's like, man, why am I feeling lower down here? You don't know why. You maybe not even feel it because you're so dull to it. But that might be that 10%. That's that extra little distance you could cover in the day or whatever the thing is. And as you know, in hunt, especially archery hunting, I mean, that's that. That is the difference between that bull on the wall and that bull staying out there.
Yeah, that's what I obsess over because, I mean, it could be this much where that the blade of my broadhead catches an artery or misses the artery.
100%.
Catches the artery, I got a drop of blood to follow, which leads to another drop of blood, which leads to the animal. I miss that artery because I'm low, because maybe I'm fatigued and my arm drops or whatever. It's as you said, the difference between the bull on the wall and...
Or worse, you hit it and killed it, but there wasn't the drop of blood and you didn't find it.
Right.
And you spent 3 days looking for it.
Yeah.
It's just...
That's obviously the worst case. So it is, I mean, the line between success and failure is so small.
We have a guy that we've coached who is a trader. I think he lives in Chicago, like a stocks finance trader.
Yeah.
And we have a good amount of historic sleep data on him. And he has his financial data. And there is a very specific tie between his sleep and the money he's made. When he sleeps a little bit better, he makes a lot more money.
Really?
Very much. So he continues to go through. He's like, yo, I don't care what your program costs. Because even a slight bump in my sleep is way more money. Like he makes more money in a day than the program costs. Right?
Yeah, that's weird because I would think like the more you grind, the more money you make.
Sure.
Awake grinding.
Yeah, but let's just say you work twice the amount of hours, but you made a 3% worse decision.
Right, yeah.
It's money.
Yeah.
It's money on the table, right?
It's true, yeah. I have a hard time because I think I've always been like the guy, like you talked about, you know, do you have talent or do you work hard? I've always been no talent. I just had to outwork everybody. So to me, outwork everybody is more miles, more hours at work, more, sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, it is that too, right? When that's the only tactic you have, you just quadruple down on it. Great. And that got you clearly tons of success. But now we go, can you keep that, but then also have some precision, some intention, some direction folded into that? And you're still going to outwork people. But this is the difference between being effective or efficient, right? So being efficient and effective, you have, let's say you have the most, we go to the archery shop and they have the most efficient system built to make a bow they've ever seen. It's the most efficient in the entire world. But if they're not making the right kind of bow, that's effective.
Right.
It's like, well, who cares? You're going to go to business. You didn't have the right kind of bow. You made that bow better than anyone in the world, and no one wanted that bow.
Yeah.
So you're become hyper efficient on that side, but I don't know if we're being effective because I don't know if we're going after the right things. In that guy's example, in his particular case, effective was not working more hours. It was not being efficient. It was not blocking his workout and doing his emails and getting his sunlight at the right time. It was not it was simply, do you do more sleep? Yes, or better sleep. Actually, not more, better sleep. Then he made more money. And so we were able to wing down his program all the way to simply, dude, you just sleep great. If we sleep great, you make more money. Well, we'll layer things on later. We'll get to exercise and supplements and blah, 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 blah. But can you do that? So for other people, it's not the same. For him, that was the big one. Other ones, it is you have to manage stress. Other ones, it is you've got something going on in a physical health parameter, an enzyme, a metabolic thing going on, a health, like something else, okay? But all of us have this performance anchor somewhere. That's the one or two things that is causing most constraint in our physiology and our performance. And we try to find that one or two thing, give you specific strategies to get that out of the way. And now just let your physiology do what it wants to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so get out of the way as much as we can.
I don't want to get too sidetracked because you had a Wyoming bear hunt story to tell me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so we got to get to that.
Okay, I'll do that right now. So we originally were supposed to shoot this show, whatever it was, and dates got a little moved around. And then we proposed another day, and I was like, I can't. I'm hunting bear. And Rihanna was like, he's hunting bear too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, great, this will work out. So I was out there, and I've actually been. So Aaron Snyder sent me one of the Kafara packs. Mm-hmm. I've been using it for years. I love it.
Yeah.
Right? I love this thing. It's great. I can't remember which model, but it's fantastic. But then I got a new pack from Exo Mountain Gear. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, let me try it. It's really cool. I love the Kafara one, but I wanted to try this one, right? So I take this out in this Wyoming hunt. And they have a cool quick release system in your rifle. So it's this really slick setup that kind of sits on your side, and then you have a little latch in case you're walking and you got to get your rifle out real fast, which is way better than kind of having a scabbard or something jammed in there. So first day of the hunt, and like hunting bear are not particularly active in the morning.
Right.
So it's a lot of afternoon, kind of evening stuff. So we're kind of messing around in camp before we get out there. And I'm trying to try my pack out and get everything done and dialed so I don't have to figure it out in the field. And I'm like, okay, school feels good. Got it all locked in. And I got that quick release. And I touched that quick release.
Oh, no.
And it's a lot quicker than I thought.
The gun, yeah.
Gun just tanks off the side.
Oh, no.
There is a 6-foot boulder right next to me, and it just smashes on the boulder.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, I have a couple options right now, and none of them are good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, I looked around. I'm like, okay, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. So we get out, we get on the horses, we ride up, hike up to get our spot, and I'm sitting there, and it's not 40 minutes, and we're kind of on a hillside behind some rocks, and then on this other hillside, there's this all timber and a little opening. 40 minutes, this bear just comes trotting right out to this opening, and I'm like, oh my God, like, just here we go.
Yeah.
We're done. He's just totally Yogi Bears, just like sits there on his ass, just like gorging. I'm like, this is just 243 yards. Bipods are down on prone. I'm just like set up, and I'm just like, I'm just going to tap a trigger.
Yeah.
And like, we're going home.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, right? So I'm on him, and we actually have the spotting scope up. And you know how you can attach your phone with the thing to the scouting? So it's like, I'm going to get on a video. And like, it's going to be all nice. This is great, right? And I feel pretty good. And I squeeze off the trigger. And the guy next to me is like, okay, left. And because the bear took off left. And I was like, oh, you went left? He's like, no, you missed left. It's like, I missed? He's like, yeah, you missed. I'm like, he's like, and he shows me the video, and I missed by 7 feet.
Oh my God.
I'm like 2 feet high and 7. I'm not even on the area code, right? And I'm like, oh no. And immediately I know what happened, right?
Yeah.
And my first thought is, all right, I got excited. It's my first bear. I pulled it. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
that's a ways off to
he's like,
punch the trigger.
He had the best hunting saying thing ever. He's just like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something. He's like, well, nobody misses that bad. And I'm like, God. So now in my head, I'm going,
yeah.
What if I did just pull this thing? What if I just pulled this thing and I am the worst shot in the history of mountains? So I go down there, and now I have a couple of options. I'm like, okay, I can't sight this thing in right here because you can run the turret, but I gotta spin the turret 55 times to get it set.
Yeah.
Like there's no way, right? And I'm not just guessing, and I'm not going to take another shot at an animal like that, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't have time to get on the horses, go back down to camp and get stuff. And then, so I'm like, I could also go over a couple of ridges and maybe shoot at something and see where it's at. But then maybe I blow this bear for life, right? So he kind of trotted off, but I missed him so bad.
Yeah. He didn't really know.
He's just like, what the hell is that, right?
Yeah.
So I go down, I was like, let's just shoot one. And I find a stump or something at 250 yards, and it's the same thing.
Like, high left.
Part of me is, right before I shoot that second shot, I'm thinking half of me wants this thing to hit this stump perfectly, right? Because I don't run back there. If that bear comes back, I'm a dead bear. And I don't care. My ego is like, that bear is more important than my ego.
Right.
This guy can be like the worst shot ever, but kill the bear. But then when it pulls left, I'm like, okay, it's way off. So we end up getting it back, go back the next day, get back to camp, go out and figure it out in the morning, get it all dialed back in. And then 4 days, the bear never.
No bear.
He came back the next night.
Oh,
Right there. He ran right up to the tree line.
yeah.
I think legal shooting ended at 9:03 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs at like 7:30, runs right up to that tree line and stops. And I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting. Dude waits an hour and 7 minutes or whatever that is. And he waits. And at 9:07 or whatever, he trots right back out.
Legal shooting line.
I think I had 1 minute left.
Oh,
And on the spotting scope, you could see him.
yeah.
And I was literally in my head going, all right, you're going to count to 30 seconds. And if he doesn't come out in 30 seconds, then you're calling it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, 7, 8, 9, like 5, 4, 6, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I get it.
Oh,
I saw him in my scope, but he was very dark and he was a blob and there was a stump there.
that's tough.
I could have hit him for sure, but you can't take that shot.
Were your crosshairs black, or did you have like a red dot?
I actually have an optic on that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So-
because it can get really tough, black on black. I can understand now, but still, black bear in low light are so tough. You can't see that shoulder.
No.
It's not like an elk where you see that crease.
Oh no,
It's just a blob.
I would have hit the blob, but I
Yeah,
would have had
but
nowhere.
who knows where?
Nowhere where I'm hitting.
And you hit a bear in the guts, they can go ways.
A very long ways.
And they're not going to bleed. With a bullet doesn't bleed like an arrow will, but even an arrow in the guts, there's so much fat and the hair absorbs blood. It's good decision.
So you just can't make that shot anyways. Like
yeah,
you're not ethically going to take that shot. I could have hit him for sure, and I'm pretty sure I could have hit him twice before he got up and moved again.
but yeah, you got to feel good about it.
Yeah, I did not feel good about it. So, and then after that, he never came back. My brother and dad got one, but the reason I wanted to tell you that story is it's fun, but it really highlights to me the importance of this is why you don't do things in competition that you haven't done in practice. Because things like this, had I tried this pack on before I left,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had this issue. But now when I tried it, I didn't do it on the hunt, but I did it the morning of it when I'm already out there. And now I can't do anything about it.
Oh,
so
that's rough.
the lesson there is,
Yeah.
we always try it. It reminded me of like when you said your first archery hunt, you killed that bull elk the first time, right? But
Well, yeah, 18 days.
18 days.
Yeah, first year. Yeah.
But then you didn't have quite so much success on the mule deer that year, right?
No, it was on blacktail. I missed
Blacktail.
16.
Oh, yeah. Blacktail out here, yeah.
Yeah, I missed 16 deer.
So you missed 16 deer.
Yeah, it seems crazy to even think about missing that many times. I don't know how I had that many arrows because I didn't have arrows are expensive.
Right.
I probably was like reshooting bent arrows, but whatever.
Yeah. So always check your gear, always check your training, do all of it before you go out.
Yeah.
But it was, I actually cherish that story so much because I feel like every time you hunt, no matter how many times you've done it, there's always another thing. It's like, okay, now I know to, and so what happened is actually a handful of years ago, I hit what'd I kill? Antelope, maybe, something what it was. And it was a pretty easy shot, maybe like 150 yards and something, but I was maybe 5 or 6 inches left. And I was like, well, that's super, super odd. Like, how'd I miss that shot? I felt good. I still killed it. But then I remember looking down and my turrets were spun because we were riding horses and so they're in the scabbards. So ever since then, I'm like completely panic. Every time I put that rifle in and out of the scabbard, I check all the turrets, make sure I'm zeroed.
Yeah.
So I had done that. I had gone out on that hunt. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I got the thing and it's not going to happen. Now I have another thing. It's like, okay.
Did the release.
So I have another thing to pay attention to, but hunting's hard, man.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of variables.
So many variables. It's so many variables. But I think being humbled, it hurts.
Oh.
And you said, you'd take the ego shot if it meant killing the bear or whatever, but that's good for us too. It's good for us to be humbled because you can go through life. You kind of cultivate your life where you're always getting these positive rewards. You don't really take too many chances. So you're always like kind of winning in our own little way.
Yep.
Hunting, it's tough to do that.
I like sharing stories like that because of exactly what you just said. With what you and I do publicly, it's almost all love. Almost all the feedback I get, I'm sure it's the same way with you. Like, just, people are so kind. I get so many messages and emails. People are so nice. Like, take their time out of their day to compliment and to say thanks. And I'm like, man, people are really, really nice. So because of that, it is exactly what you mentioned, right? It is I live in a very, people tell me how great I am all the time. So it's really nice to have some.
That's actually rare for me, but that's nice for you.
Really? I don't know.
You're easier to like than me.
No, dude. Let's play a game. Let's name somebody who's done more for hunting than Cam Hanes.
Oh,
that list gets very short, my friend.
Joe Rogan.
Well, okay. Again, the list gets very short.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's we take the good with the bad. That what I focus on is like the reach that we have and how many people we can influence. Yeah, I'm going to get hate. There's always going to be, especially in hunting. There's we're very competitive as men. So I get it. I mean, I talk shit about people all the time when I was young. So it's like,
sure.
But if we focus on the impact that we can make, and not just in hunting, but social media, because I'm a bow hunter, has allowed me these opportunities. Well, then I can, do things with you and learn from you and share things with people I care about. And so, I'm so thankful for all of it. But I'm especially thankful of this time that we've spent and getting, to learn. I don't know. I've learned so much from you. It's like, it's been amazing to me, and I'm so appreciative. I did want to talk about too, real quick. You just started a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about your podcast.
The second episode just came out today.
Did it?
Yeah.
And what's it on?
My phone is a disaster from Rob and everybody. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm running them out with Cam.
Yeah. I love Rob Moore. I love Andrew Huberman. And so those are like, you're part of that network, right?
Yeah. So the show is called Perform with Dr. Andy Galpin, and it's through the SciComm, so Andrew and Rob's company platform there, and it's 10 episodes, season 1, and the goal of that is what I'm always interested in. That's helping people enhance performance, and I want to be really clear there. We've talked a lot about sport. We have said this, but it's important to reiterate that perform doesn't mean sports. It just means perform. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the planet wants to look a certain way. You define looking good as something different than your neighbor. I don't care, but everyone wants to look physically a certain way. Muscle, big, small, whatever. Everyone wants to feel a certain way. Right? You want to feel energetic. You want to feel strong. You want to feel compassionate. You want to feel like a leader, like whatever you want to feel. And then everyone wants to perform a certain way. You want to run. You want to recover. You want to have like great energy. Like you want to do these things. It doesn't matter what you use those skills for. Use those skills to kill a better bull? Great. You want to use those skills to just have more energy throughout the day? Fine. It's the same thing, right? There's actually a quote that we use in the show all the time for every episode, and it comes here from Bill Bowerman, the old coach up here, right?
Yeah.
And he said, if you have a body, you're an athlete.
I like it.
Doesn't matter, right?
Right.
You have a body, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Whether you want to use your body and your capability to shoot a ball better, I don't care. But you still want to perform at your best, right? And so the goal of that show is to go over as much of the physiology and science of human performance in as many of the areas that we possibly can. So the first episode was on the heart. And in every episode, I try to cover what I call the 3 I's. So I, number 1, is investigate. How do you even know what to measure, what to ask for, what to test to get done to know if your cardiovascular system is performing well? I want to be really clear. We don't do disease. So I'm not having you take this test to see if you have cancer. I don't care. What's your long-term risk of a heart attack? That's Peter Attia can do that. I don't do medicine. If you want to know, hey, is my fatigue, is my low energy because of my cardiovascular system? What should I even get tested? What should I look for? What should I ask for? So investigate. How do I run self-studies on these things? Number 2, how do I interpret? So when I get those data back, how do I know if that's good, bad, terrible, great? What about for a 46-year-old female? Is that okay? Or what about what's the best ever in the world? Oh, good timing.
Yeah.
So in that, we tend to cover like what's average, what's standard, and then what's the best ever. So in almost every episode, we'll have a metric of what the world record is, what's the in the publication of science, what's the highest I've ever seen.
That's interesting.
What have I seen before?
Yeah.
So in the VO2 max stuff on the cardiovascular episode 1, I went over what's the highest documented ones, what's the biggest
that's
stroke
why
volume.
you knew so well when we talked about that.
I've known that stuff for 20 years.
Okay.
Or, you know, it's
What was that measure on my panel that was really high that you said? What was that thing?
on your blood panel.
Yeah, you said that's really good. The hell?
Oh, yeah. Your hematocrit and hemoglobin were outstanding. So I think your hemoglobin was like 16.7 or something like that.
Yeah.
Traditional, pretty good fit man, 15 and change. So you're pretty good. And then your hematocrit was 50 on the nose, which is basically ideal. Any higher, that actually is detrimental
Okay.
because your blood just gets too viscous.
Right. Gotcha.
But those numbers, now the rest of your numbers,
Yeah, we don't even talk about those.
a little bit. We've got some work to do, friend.
And then what'd you say was today's podcast on? The first one was heart. What's this today?
Today is muscle.
Muscle. Okay.
Yep. And again, understanding what it is, what it's doing, why it's affecting everything from your immune system, and how being under muscled can be causing a lot of problems that people don't realize. How much muscle should you have? Again, not for aesthetics or performance, but from how your body actually performs.
Yeah.
Is this causing your issues? How to get that measured? What numbers should those be? And then the third eye with every episode is intervene, which is what do I do about it?
Okay.
If this number came back here, what do I do? Right. So the first episode was, this is your cardiovascular system. Here's what to measure. Here's what normal numbers you should look for. And now here are programs to enhance it. So the
Okay.
muscle episode will the same way. The sleep episode, the blood work episode, the brain injury episode, all of these things have those components, right? So what do I look for? How do I know if that's good, bad, great, terrible, world record? And then what do I do about it?
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure it's going to be, people are going to love it. I mean, just you talking and explaining things is like, you're so good at it. And it's so useful. How I end this show is your brand new bow. Look at
My
this.
gosh.
Look at this. 102.5 yards. You broke the balloon yesterday.
Yeah, man.
Shot great. There's your new bow. And
Ugh.
I'm going to send that with your arrows and all your gear down to you.
And my knife? Yeah.
And your knife, yeah. And we're going to, I don't know, can you turn you into a bow hunter pretty soon?
Oh, man. I have to tell you, I've shot a lot of rifle in my day. And I'm not just saying this, but I told my brother last night, I was dude, it's not as satisfying. There's something about the arrow when you fling it.
Yeah.
It's different. I'm like, man, this is kind of, I told him, I was like, we might have something different here. We have to go dig around with. But
Wayne has his go-to stories on everything, but I don't think he told you the one where people shooting an arrow for the first time, it feels familiar because we've done it for thousands of years, as a species.
I see.
And so people do it and they're just like, man, just like you, there's something here.
Smooth.
He says, it's because it's who we are.
Yeah.
And Fred Bear said, the history of archery is the history of mankind. So I don't know if that's just, whatever, romanticizing it, but
I don't care. It was pretty good.
I do know it feels pretty good to stand out there at 100 yards and watch that balloon pop, doesn't it? The arrow tracks there.
I think because what it take, I think I missed the first, 3 or 4?
No, you hit it the first time.
I hit it the first time.
First shot of the day.
First shot of the day with no warm up.
Right.
Actually, the first time I shot an arrow in my life.
That was.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
So I never gotten sighted in or anything like that. But it was super satisfying to watch that thing. It's different than hitting a gong or a target. And then,
Yeah.
you're out there in
Ring
the field,
and steel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was great. I appreciate everything. And Wayne was a great teacher. I got a memory on my arm from it.
Yeah. You caught the string catcher for him a little bit, but the bow rack, shout out to them, Wayne and Lisa and all the staff there. Just love those guys. You got to meet John Rivet, John and Jen are there, who I bear hunt with. So
I already found him on Instagram and DM'd him.
Perfect.
That's 100% true.
Okay,
That's
good.
100%
We're
true.
going bear hunting then for sure.
I was like, hey, man,
Yeah.
how do I get some more
Remember
information
me?
about this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I'm like, dude, you got to send me the packet or the pamphlet or whatever. And my brother, he's going to be all over this too, but he is an enormous Cam Hanes fan.
Oh, okay.
He's got the books. He's got swag. He's got shoes.
that's
He's got all of it. So I wanted to give him a little shout out here because
what's his name?
Casey.
Casey. All right,
Yeah.
Casey. Hey, thanks for the support, following along. Love your story. I've heard about you from obviously from Andy. So Shout out to Casey.
Appreciate it.
Much love. Yeah, well, we got to get you back to the shit show that is LA.
Oh, for a few more weeks.
All right. Well, thank you, Andy. It's been a pleasure. Loved it. I don't know. I can't wait to do it again.
I can't wait.
All right. Keep hammering.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like can't